do a question per table, and we'll see maybe 2 rounds of that. Right now, we're just thinking about questions that we think we might want to know before we even start planning. So let's go to you guys back there. Question from your table.
We said we want to know what is in the water, the good and the bad stuff that's in the water. Because if we design something that's going to filter, we don't want to filter out the algae, which is something that we need in the water. So we need to know exactly what is the best in the actual water.
Okay, what's in the water, good and bad? All right. How about I take a question from you guys over here?
We had the same question. We had to figure out what's actually causing it, and if it's ongoing or if it's
Okay, so can we write, is it ongoing? Is that all right to just add here? Is it, and it meaning the pollution, ongoing. Okay, what else?
The kind of water system it's like, if it's a pond or a lake, or the size, or is there a flowing part? Is there any kind of, natural filter system in terms of, it's moving water or stagnant water, or,
Okay, I'm going to just summarize that as what's the water flow into the wetland?
Yeah.
Okay, let me go over to this table over here. That's okay, let me go here and we'll come to you.
A lot of things were set up.
Okay.
But the money, further down the line, how much is this going to cost?
Okay,
So
good.
How much money do you have to work with? to build
Yep.
a filtration system or whatever?
Good, what's the money going to be? Good. You
Just,
good?
we were talking about the source. Where's it actually coming from?
Okay. Guys over here?
What things live here? Fish, birds, plants, what actually lives in that?
Going around again. Now I want you to look at your list and think now about things that might impact what you can build. So for example, a lot of this is really good information, right? How does the water flow in and out? What's really there? What's good, what's bad? All that's important. And we have one thing here that really is kind of an engineering question, like how much money do I have? So with that kind of lens, what else might we want to add to our list? You guys have another one you want to put on?
Maybe like what, if you look at the soil around it, what's the stability of the soil? And water flows up on it more often, so the soil's not as stable, or
Okay.
kind of
If you don't, we can come. So we have EPA. Engineering this, yeah. Okay, all right. We'll call science. Yeah.
I said, what can we use that's already there? Enhance it in some way to help solve the problem.
Without creating new ones?
Not necessarily man-made, yeah.
Okay.
Natural resource.
So natural resources. Along with that, is there something else that you might want to ask about what you could use?
Because of who lives around, what's around? Is it businesses that could be causing the pollution? Is it homes? I don't know, building industry, what is around?
Okay,
So that also limits what we can use
all right.
and help with that.
Anybody else trying to give me one? Okay, I'm going to add a couple to this if it's all right with you. Okay, so we had money. We might want to ask the question, how much time do we have? Yeah? What does small scale even mean? So what is the definition of that? You talked about natural materials, but what about other materials? Anything else like this that you can think of?
The economic impact?
Okay, the economic good. So you start to see that some of these questions about what we can even build are really going to be impacted by the science questions that you've been asking, right? The economic impact is going to depend on what's around that wetland, or their houses or their buildings or whatever along the way. What can I actually build with another materials is going to depend on what the natural resources are. And this is why these two go together so very nicely. I mean, they just blend. You can't really talk about one without the other, and you can't design if you don't know some of these other things in there, okay? So when you start any engineering project, you always start with this question. What about the problem do you need to know? So if you're doing this with your kids, you would do the same kind of thing. You would generate this list, and it's a free-for-all. They get to ask whatever questions that they want. But we want to then go about criteria and constraints, because these are two very important terms in terms of the engineering design process. Or the whatever. When do we get to say about what we wanted? Might help us know whether we got there or not. Okay, so how well did we clean in this case? So that would be a really important thing. Somewhere in our conversation, we have to define what does it mean to be clean. Does clean just mean the water's clear? Or does clean mean it's free of all microbes? Right? Those are two different cleans. So what are we talking about here? Are we just getting big gunk out of the water and it still can be muddy? Or what are we thinking about? Okay, so if you thought that that was an important thing, then it would be restoration. So not only did we clean it up, but we actually restored it and it's totally healthy. To what degree of healthy, right? So those are things like criteria. Things that are going to define what it means when we say we're there, we got a good product. So how many of you have an iPhone? Okay, so all of you with your iPhone, how many of you have iPhone 6s? Okay, so for those of you who are back in the 4s and the 5s, okay. So you look at the 6s and you say, ooh, what improvement do they have? I just moved up to the 6, so I'm in love with Siri. I didn't have that before. But I recognize it with my wonderful lisp. She never understands me at all in what I'm saying. And when I text messages by voice, God only knows what I've said, right? So that's not quite there for me yet, right? I need somebody who can understand the way I speak so that I can actually translate. So even though there is a product out there, it's not really serving my need because my voice communication isn't real great with that. But that's what we're talking about with criteria. Okay, constraints. Yeah, okay, good. Budget, that's a wonderful constraint. Constraints are anything that is going to limit how you can do this project. Okay. Time. The what? On the means, okay.
Rules and regulations.
Good.
Maybe the solution was create a
Did it, okay. Anything else you want to put over here? Okay, so as we go through this design process, we're going to give you some of the constraints in terms of what you have. We're going to give you a time limit. We're going to give you certain materials to do. But what I'd like you to talk about at your table for a moment is what you think the criteria is. So let me go back. Here's the job that you've been given. Oops, let me go to that one. This is the job they've given you. What do you think would be a definition of the end product? Talk at your table for a second. What would it mean to you to say that you've cleaned up your gunky water? talk at your table for a moment.